Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders share their insights. 6 questions in 9 minutes because leaders know how to be concise. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Question number 1. Tell us just in a few sentences who you are and what you do.
Hey, Sean, my name is Erik J. Olson. I am the CEO and founder of Array Digital. We are a digital marketing agency in Chesapeake, Virginia.
Fantastic. Well, question number 2, what is the best part about working with the team?
So what I like about working with the team is that it doesn't mean that everything falls on me. And when I first started, everything fell on me. It was just me, a laptop, a cell phone, and the dining room table. And that meant 12 hours a day, I was working nonstop. And most people, probably like me, are a little bit lazy. So it's actually very nice to be able to turn things over to your team, give them the proper training and the tools, make sure that they're okay, and then just entrusting them to do it. And that means, honestly, a lot less work for me and for you if you do that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I completely agree. Well, question number 3. I hear from other team leaders that they sometimes have a challenge getting team members to be engaged. Tell me your thoughts on that.
So, this really comes down to culture, in my opinion. And one of the things about culture is you have to trust your team members and the people that work for you. So, I've seen many, many times, and I've done it many, many times where I've micromanaged people. And in my experience, when I've seen it and when I've done it, what happens is the person that gets micromanaged, they really just start to take a hands-off approach. So if I give someone very detailed, specific instructions and it doesn't work out exactly the way that I think it should, well, guess whose problem it is? It's mine, right? So I like to provide the training, hire smart people, trust in them, make sure that they're not going to fall flat on their face. Let them make a few mistakes if they need to so that they learn themselves. But eventually you're going to hand this thing over to them. And the sooner you can do that and hand it over, the better for you and for them. And that will keep them engaged.
Oh, I love that. Great wisdom. Great insight. Thank you. Question number 4. What other successful team leaders, such as yourself, would you suggest be on the podcast?
So really 2 people come to mind. The first is my business partner and the Array Digital co-founder, Kevin Daisy. So he, it's interesting because we share a podcast together and we alternate episodes. So these are solo episodes. And a lot of times we will talk about the same topic, but we have different opinions on it.
Mm.
So imagine that 2 people with different opinions and we're both leaders in our company. It's going to happen. So I think it would actually be very interesting for you and maybe for your listeners to compare and contrast what I have to say about teamwork and what he has to say. The second person is an old friend of mine. His name is Daniel Velichki. And Daniel runs 3 different companies. And by different, I mean they're in completely different industries. So his main bread and butter is financial services, but he also owns a CrossFit gym. And he also is starting up a financial software as a service company. So 3 different groups of people, 3 different mentalities, 3 different sets of needs. And he's got to take his leadership style and make it work for all 3 of them. So I think that he could be really interesting to have on the show.
Boy, that would be. Thank you. Well, question number 5. What piece of advice would you give to other team leaders?
So, I already mentioned taking kind of a hands-off approach when the person's ready and try to get them ready as quickly as possible. That's going to make it good for them, make it good for you. But even though you're taking a hands-off approach, you can't just be hands off the wheel. So, I often jump in here and there when I see a need. A lot of times I will hint or I will request that something get done, but if it doesn't, then I will jump in a lot of times and I'll make that change and I'll explain to the person why it is that I'm making that change and why I'm questioning the thing. I'm not questioning them. I'm questioning whether we're doing the right thing, whether we have the right process. So, I would say be hands off until you need to be hands on, but then also question everything. And just because you've done something, the way that you do it forever is not a good reason at all. So always question what you're doing. And when you realize that something needs to change it right away. Don't wait.
Oh, great advice. Thank you. Well, 6th and final question. Tell us about your first job.
All right, how much time do I got? I know it's 9 minutes total. I think I'm about 7 minutes into this. All right, first job is actually when I moved to Virginia. I moved from California. So I was 4 years in California, and we ended up in Virginia, Northern Virginia, when I was in 7th grade. And I had barely seen snow, hardly at all. But when we moved there, very quickly it started to snow. And we lived in a townhouse community. And so my dad gave me the chore of shoveling the sidewalk and then shoveling out the car, which was fine, no big deal, because it was just a little townhouse and maybe, I don't know, 30 or 40 feet of sidewalk and then the car. But I realized that other people were not shoveling their sidewalks and their cars out. And so I took my dad's shovel and I went door to door and started knocking on doors and asking if people wanted their cars and their sidewalks shoveled out. And it was very quick work. And it was pretty lucrative, actually. I think I charged maybe $10 for the sidewalk and for the car,
Nice.
which, you know, now doesn't seem like a whole lot of money, but when you're in 7th grade and you do 3 or 4 of these in a row, it was great. There was a problem, though. It was what I refer to as reoccurring work. So it would happen in the future, but at unpredictable times. And then there were long periods of time where I was out of business. So it was a good lesson learned, and I needed to find recurring work. So looking back on that, there were some lessons learned that I didn't quite pick up on then.
Well, that's great, though. I love that. Thanks for sharing that story. And thanks for being on the podcast. Where can people find you, Erik?
The best place to find me is on Twitter. That's where I hang out the most.
Okay.
So my handle is I am Erik J. Olson. That's Erik, which is ERIK J, and Olson is OLSON. And my company website is This Is Array. That's THISISARRAY.com.
Fantastic. Thank you. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast. For more ideas, you can find us on LinkedIn at Blue Sky Business Consulting.